Hey, how you doing? Been all right? So last month I preached a message at the church for my young adults group. It was really about our identity in Christ. I know that's something I talk a lot about on the channel, but I preached about that not too long ago, and I got the footage, so I want to go ahead and give that to y'all. So I'm going to have to upload it in parts because there's a time limit on how long your videos can be on YouTube. For a channel like mine. So I'm gonna upload them in sections. I hope you all enjoy it. I hope it is helpful in your relationship with God. I hope that it's something encouraging for you. I hope that you're able to learn something from it and share it with a friend. If you haven't already, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share it with somebody. And thank you for your time. Thank you for watching it, and I hope it blesses you. Peace.
Before I get into anything, I just want to give a few thank yous. First of all, let's give it up for worship again. That was amazing. Thank you all guys so much for that. Honestly, you set a beautiful tone for us in here tonight, and you really opened up the presence for God to move. I also want to say thank you to everybody who came out. Thank you all for making it and making this something of importance for you to tune into God tonight. And last but not least, I want to say thank you to my leaders. Thank you. Brandon's not here, but yours better have anyway, so it's okay. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, baby, for the beautiful introduction. And just in case, just a little side note, today is our 10-month anniversary. So, you know what I'm saying? That's my baby right there. But young adults, right? This is our end of the month service. We've been studying as a church, really, the Sermon on the Mount in different ways. We've been going through the stories that Jesus told, Beatitudes, parables, all these things, right? And I just want to say thank you and Brandon for, before I get into that, we've been, as a young adults group, going through this theme that God gave Brandon of All Hail King Jesus. And that's really been our center focus. It's been everything that we've centered our messages around, how we serve, our heart attitude. It's on all the promos, the merch, everything. That's the center of what we're here tonight to focus in on, right? And so Brandon and Esther, last Sunday service, they gave us a beautiful example of the identity of Jesus. Oh, my bad, y'all can be seated. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you, man. But they gave us a beautiful illustration. They painted a wonderful picture of the identity of Christ, right? And I felt it important to take it a step further, right? Once we know who Jesus is, we know the nature of Christ, we understand his identity. Then the next step is, what is our identity in Christ? So I'm a note taker. I don't know about y'all. I love to take notes. I'm that person. So for all my note takers out there, the title is, Who are you? Who are you? Who are you in Christ? Right? Paul gives us a beautiful and very clear-cut illustration in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17, when he says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come." So what is our identity? Right? What does that mean really for us? How do we begin to dive into that? How do we begin to really grasp that, understand it? How do we fathom it and hold dear to it and let that shape our lives? Again, for my note takers, point one, right? First point is to lay down the idol of approval. That is the first way that we can really begin to understand our identity in Christ. Now, the reason why is because just everybody in this room, right? We are all born sinful into a sinful world. Everything about our world, especially in today's society, is bound in this understanding of comparison and approval, disappointment. Do you measure up to the world standard? If not, you're outcasted. You're thrown away. We don't need you here, right? That's the world that we live in. We live in a world that is driven by comparison, and it's for us as young adults, it's really like, if they have it, then I gotta have that too. For single people, I see people around me getting married, I gotta get married. They have kids, I need to have kids. They got a good job after college, I need to go do that. I need that job. I need to have the things that the people around me have. And we are consumed by this mass hysteria of comparing ourselves to the people around us. God never intended for us to do that. That is not at all how we are supposed to live as Christians. That is not what Jesus tells us to do. There are things and there are people that really attribute to our tendency to compare ourselves, whether we're thinking we're doing it or not. There are things like social media, things like the American dream, something I like to call the artificial lifestyle. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but I like YouTube. So I noticed that there are certain YouTube families that behind the scenes, they only married and created a family so they could get YouTube revenue. It wasn't because they actually had a connection and settled down with each other. It wasn't for that. It's an artificial way of living. It's a standard that they saw somebody else be able to do truthfully in their relationship with each other. And they was like, oh, that's a good marketing tool. I can make money doing that. Let me go ahead. Hey, you trying to go start this family and make this YouTube money? All right, cool. And then you see years later, dang, what happened to them? They're not making stuff no more. They were wrapped up in comparing themselves to other people who had a completely different calling for their lives because they never got the revelation of Jesus' calling for their own. And there's also people. There's people who compare us without even trying to. Sometimes it's out of love for us. People like your parents. They can compare you to other children. Behave. You see how they all good them kids acting? You need to be like that. They quiet, you be quiet. I got that a lot. I don't know my job, but that was, mom was like, you don't see them doing nothing crazy? You better not be doing nothing crazy, girl, so I'm on you. Like, that was, comparison can come from your parents. It can come from teachers. Oh, I'm gonna give you your test face down because you didn't do as good as the person next to you. I don't want you to be embarrassed. We shouldn't celebrate that you're at least trying. That you did better at this test than you did the last one. You got a 50 on this one, last time you had a 20. But I'm gonna still give it to you face down. And now the class knows what that is, bro. You're still embarrassed by it. And the teacher know what they're doing, bro. They think they slick, but they're not. Like, teachers can compare you to other students. They can teach you things in a way that to them was taught, and they bring a life lesson in, and they're just supposed to be teaching you about like economics or something. You know what I mean? Like, they compare things, and at a young age, that can scar you. Pastors have done that. They compare different congregations. Well, that church brings in so many people, and we can't. What's wrong with us? Mentors can do that. They do that all the time. Well, maybe your reaction to that should be a little bit more like this person. There was this one theologian that said this, because that's how they believed it, so maybe that's what you should need to do too. Jesus never called us to think like the next person. He told us to think like him, not each other. We are loved despite our differences. But I'm saying that these things, these people, they add pressure. They close in on us, right? We are taught that we need to fight longer, that we need to grind harder, right? That we need to dig deeper. But for what? What are we doing all this for? Right? We run all day to prove what? And who are we proving this to? Whose approval are you really seeking in every decision you're making? What approval is the one that supersedes the rest, right? When the walls close in on us, we forget what God says about us because we're constantly consumed by the world's disapproval. Wow. Now, I love Paul. Paul, to me, has the perfect, narrative and dialogue around this topic of letting go of the world's approval. Because he was tasked with starting a lot of churches, fam. I don't think y'all realize how many churches he had to be hey, y'all doing this wrong, y'all do he was in charge of a lot. God used him tremendously. I'm so thankful for Paul. But Paul gives us the perfect mindset to counter our culture. Right? In Galatians chapter 1, verse 10, Paul tells us, "For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ." Paul is making it very clear. If you are to have your identity bound in Christ, if you are to serve Jesus, if you are to live the way Christ did, you cannot let the approval of man deter you from God's plan. You can't. That will hurt you every single time. Now, I do want to pause, because we can hear a verse like this, right? And we can think, yeah, I really did. I let that soak into my heart. I let that really just resonate. And then you can leave, and 2 hours later be disapproving of somebody's driving skills. And now you're right back into it. Only difference is now you're the one that's not approving of someone else. You're staying stuck in this cycle. It's a chain that's meant to be broken. Let go of approval from man. It's an idol whenever you put it above God's approval. We forget easily because we think that it's us that has to be strong. We think it's us who has to be perfect, us who has to have all the right answers. We can't make a mistake. We have to be this robot, right? That's what we're taught. Like, oh, you failed at that, maybe you need to try this because that's not for you. Like, bro, people have off days. Pastor Lee the other day was talking about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had a couple bad games in his career. He didn't make every game winner. He said he missed over 9,000 shots in his career. He's not perfect, even though he's the best. That's my opinion. I'm wearing Jordans right now. I'm about to say my brother, but no. But the reality of this is that we all fall short. We all do. But the beauty of it is that that's okay. I want to read this. I want to read something to you real quick. This might sting a little bit. This might make you squirm. It made me squirm a little bit to really realize this. We will disappoint God. We will disappoint the people that we love. We will also be disappointed by the people we love. We won't always be right. We can't always do the right thing. Not everything that you touch will turn to gold. We will stumble and fail. But the beautiful thing about this is, if that's making you squirm, that's because you're still stuck on what man would say about that. If that's making you be encouraged, you have that idea and that understanding of what God says about you. Because God says that is okay. In fact, God reminds us that we can't do anything to be loved any more or any less than he loves us right now. No matter what your mistakes were, God's love for you is unconditional. It never changes. There's nothing that you can do to enhance it. That means that there's also nothing that you can do to make it drop. Man, this is beautiful. Romans chapter 8, verse 35. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress, persecution or famine, nakedness, dangerous sword?